It's been a day of protests across the country as hundreds of party supporters from both the New Patriotic Party pour out and the governing the New Patriotic Party and the opposition NDC pour out their anger over what they say are discrepancies in the results announced by the Electoral Commission from last Monday's elections. At a news conference in Sefi Yoso, the constituency in the Western North region, the NDC said it will not accept the parliamentary election results declared by the EC for the constituency. The party claims one ballot box from Asawinso, a stronghold, was stolen. Hence, figures were not added to the final results, which declared the MPP candidate a winner.
We will never accept any flawed election. Our results number. And for the first time, Electoral Commission, different figure altogether, sounds like that. Which means to say, on one case, with respect to the figures, the candidates, the various candidates, but to the surprise of NDC, all the 12 candidates, with the exception of President.
In the Tishiman South constituency, where 2 people were shot dead and others injured in shootings over the results, the NDC held a news conference to demand justice and a recollation of the results declared in favor of the MPP candidate. General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Yesiedun stressed the party still does not recognize that election results collated at the Bono East Regional Coalition Center, adding the purported declaration should be nullified.
Nana number be adru ni preso efri say onipa da sani aboni krimu pose opese osisi yan internet ya frame a onipa bia owo electoral commission ha no wakoje adamudie no ode krata bia sie no waye bo apaye bi sa abatu ayetu osisi NDC for the nana munyini free biase nana no me say nipa bia owo electoral commission ha no wakwaji sika wakwaji adamudia ananse wonam kuntu asibi no osesa ye figures police ama abaya 2 years.
Well, the MPP in the constituency has meanwhile been responding to these allegations at the news conference held here in Accra.
Honorable Martin Ajay-Mensah Kosa, the MP elect, had 49,682, and Christopher Beiro of the NDC had 49,205. This obviously made Honorable Ajay-Mensah Kosa as the winner of the Tishiman South constituency elections. Let's note some inconsistencies in the narration of the NDC. Former President John Dramani Mahama addressed a press conference in which he gave the NDC candidate 54,170 votes as against Honorable Matthew J. Mensah 49,825. His General Secretary, Asiedun Ketia, had a different press conference. He also gave Christopher Bailey 50,569 and Honorable Matthew J. Mensah 49,874. And these are two leading figures of the NDC, giving us two different figures. How can we trust such an inconsistent leaders who want to lead this nation? The NDC claims that we used the soldiers to overturn the results. In other words, they said that we brought a lot of soldiers there to intimidate their people. Of course, they are the national security. They have to protect national officers doing their legitimate work. We have all the pink sheets. We have all our pink sheets. So anybody who claims that we don't have our pink sheets is lying. Because if you remember, yes, even at the collation center, when the electoral commission were looking for pink sheets, they were consulting us. Because we managed to gather all our pink sheets few hours after close of polls.
So accusing the Electoral Commission of fraudulently declaring Ahmed Ibrahim of the NDC as winner of the parliamentary elections in Banda with forged figures. At a news conference addressed by the Bono Regional Chairman, Kwame Bafo, the party says the Commission's officer at Banda announced figures that had the subtotals of all the figures from the 45 polling stations, not reflecting the total on the pink sheet. He argues 51 votes were missing from that of the MPP, while the NDC had 60 extra votes. He says the party is petitioning the EC and wants a review of the results collated and come back to declare results that will reflect the true will of the people to avert an escalation of the situation in Banda. There's more from Precious Semable.
Explaining how the EC stole the will of the people of Banda in the parliamentary elections, and while the MPP did not sign the pink sheet, Bono Regional Chairman of the party, Kwame Bafo, says the declared result of 8,195 for the NPP candidate Joe Dankwa and 8,276 for Ahmed Ibrahim of the NDC is inconsistent with the total figures from the 45 polling stations, including special voting on the EC's pink sheet. He alleged the declared result has 51 votes taken from the NPP, while 60 votes added to that of the NDC, resulting in Ahmed Ibrahim being declared as the winner, describing it as fraudulent and a dubious sham.
The results declared by the Electoral Commission at the Banda constituency does not reflect the will and right of the people of Banda, and that same is fraudulent, deceitful, and not only a scam, but a dubious sham. Per the figures of the Electoral Commission's pink sheet available to all stakeholders, the subtotal of all the figures does not reflect the grand total stated on the pink sheet. Upon a proper collation, the MPP's candidate, who is the MP elect in waiting, gained 8,246 of the total valid vote cast, whereas the NDC candidate also gained 8,219 votes, meaning that the MPP candidate, Honorable Joe Dankwa, won the election with a slim margin of 27 votes. Due to this miscalculation and several irregularities that occurred at the stronghold of the NDC, our agent did not sign the final pink sheet, thereby giving us a legitimate reason to reject the flawed result declared by the EC in the Banda constituency.
He said they are petitioning the EC and want a proper review of the results and a winner declared to reflect the will of the people to avert an escalation of the already charged atmosphere in Banda.
We are by this press conference calling on the Electoral Commission to review the results collated and come back to declare results which will reflect the true will and right of the people to prevent any uncalled for violence. Let me conclude by sending a word of caution to the NDC that we shall not tolerate the use of thugs, vagabonds, and criminals in the constituency to intimidate the electoral officers and indigenous in the constituency, we shall use all the necessary and available means to protect and defend our ballots. Let me also add that the MPP will never resort to violence, but however, should the constituency be plunged into chaos, the Electoral Commission will have itself to be blamed because they have prepared the grounds and the platform for same.
For Joynews, Precious Semevo, Sunyani.
West Regional Capital, while MPP supporters there are turning on their own. They're demanding the resignation of the regional minister and other party executives for allegedly working against the party's candidate in the constituency. Well, in the Eastern region, the MPP in the Kutia constituency is asking the party to suspend the MP for the area, Amase, for her role in the party's loss.
And constituency secretary, Eugene Champo, your communication officer, I Samuel Saforo, I don't want to friend brother, and you're my bonny on my way. No, we don't want to NDCT. As I say, a DNA is for me. Make us the same way, I just saw the mobile NDC. I NDC candidate, a friend of Okoyo. And he's saying, send the chairman kind and Pennyphone Kasai. Yeah, we are German called independent. Now, can you boy? I'm here. That's why I'm going to need your award mano 80 candidate Okoyo and the last time we say, Namado dear, I am Papa. It was so be as I am to about and from Mano, MPP Nibian Tobano, and from Nanado. No parliament in India, and the one thing, the better no to offer. Oh, yeah, no, I the phone. I don't want to picture with us. So now they are chill be a Sabi channel. Ayo, no, we shall say, I know, I just say, I see the cool, any Okoyo. And until we are no Okoyo, so the NDC chairman, I'm a general. Now, almost actually say, I must say, I am a hearing. And until I must say, MPP in India and Twaba, and from our own, I must say, now MPP, the near see the shoe. So I don't see the brain. I just say the air cannon, and the prayer. Only one year, only one year.
We're joined by security analyst Festus Boaje to explore some of these developments. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, we've heard various stories having to do partly with people protesting about results, but there are others also having to do with internal wrangling at the party level. Are we to see these protests for what they are, protests, or there could be more to these protests?
So I think there are underlying. Sorry. First of all, thanks for having me, Israel. My understanding is that there could be underlying reasons why, on both sides of the divide, you have these kinds of agitation. Let's remember that the EC went into the voter registration exercise, exhibition, and these elections with a trust deficit. Therefore, it was obligatory on the part of the EC to have been as transparent as necessary, especially regarding the casting of the ballots, one, the counting of the ballots at the ballot stations, with or without any petitions and recounts and so on, and then the constituency level collation. It appears to me that owing to a number of factors, including some malpractices on the part of a few EC officials and attempts on both sides, the MPP and DC, try and influence the ballot, and the lack of transparency surrounding how the EC computed the final figures or the summary, which, as we now know, was riddled with computation errors. All of these are added together to compound the lack of trust, giving grounds for, the perception that probably all is not well with the process. So I've suggested that it's not too late for the EC to engage with the stakeholders and share with them the spreadsheet on the basis of which it arrived at the figures, corrected figures that it arrived at. Let the parties bring out their pink sheet. Let them resolve any and all discrepancies. Let them come to a broad or reasonable consensus around the figures. Then we can demand of the parties to call on their supporters to exercise restraint, and assure them that they are going to use other measures to try and resolve whatever the outstanding issues are. I want to emphasize that it is not sufficient. Although we are all calling for restraint on the part of the political stakeholders, that alone is not sufficient. The underlying reasons why the agitations are taking place are the issues that we must all seek to address. And it's only the EC, as the election management body, which can, at this stage, address those issues.
You say that it is not too late for them to engage, the EC to engage the political parties, but really, the results have been declared and we know who the winner is. What is going to change?
Now, I've had occasion to explain that there are about two sides of this electoral framework. One side is the legal framework, which is very, very clear. The other side is the practice, the traditions that we have evolved as a society. And one of those traditions is that in years gone by, the EC used to call political parties, and tell them what the results are, share it with them, and seek their inputs or their observations and whatever, get their consensus before going out to do the announcement. Now, let's look at the first set of figures which the EC announced, after which it came back to say that over 300,000 plus, had been, if you like, wrongly added. In other words, we had voted in excess of 100%. People are asking, what is the basis of the 300,000 plus numbers? How do you break them down? To which party? Those deductions that were made, -1 to, I think, Ekweadonko or whichever party, plus so and so to MPP, minus this, minus. How did the EC arrive at these things? The EC must sit around the table. You see, the results that were announced are not final. But as we all know, in the final analysis, any of the two parties can go to court. And indeed, both parties have signaled that they are going to court. But it is better for us to use other mechanisms to resolve the differences and let the court be the final arbiter if all else fails. As far as I'm concerned, the results are contestable. They are not final. That's right. What the EC has said. And there are parties, both sides, which are saying that, no, we don't accept these figures in totality.
All right. Thank you very much, Colonel Festus Abuaje, retired, the security analyst. The Techiman Circuit Court, presided over by His Lordship Justice Alexander Graham, has sentenced a 39-year-old Christian Nukwata, a resident of Tato, Bato near Kwame Nansu in the Senate West District of the Bono East region for interfering with ballot box without authority. The accused person on December 7 at about 5:43 p.m. after the close of polls without lawful authority made away with the parliamentary ballot box. He was later pursued and arrested by the retrieved ballot box was without the seal of the NPP. The accused pleaded guilty and has been sentenced to pay a fine of 300 penalty units and in default serve a 6-month imprisonment term. In addition, the accused has been sentenced to 3 months imprisonment and has been disqualified from voting in the next 5 years. The Senate West constituency parliamentary seat remains the only outstanding parliamentary result yet to be declared by the EC in the just-ended general elections. Our correspondent Anas Sabit joins me with more. Anas, so it turns out that this is what is holding the EC from declaring the Senate West constituency result. Does it mean that now that this ruling or this sentencing has happened, we're going to see a new development?
Actually, this is not what is holding the EC from declaring that particular result. What the EC have been waiting for is a directive from the Electoral Commission in Accra on what to do with that particular ballot box that was snatched by the said gentleman. When they retrieved the ballot box, they had the NPP seal broken. So there is a contention over there as to whether the content of that particular ballot box had been tampered or not. So the EC is waiting for a directive on whether to add the content of that particular polling station or that particular ballot box to what has already been collated. The difference could change the results, the final outcome of the results as it stands. So that is what is delaying the declaration of that particular constituency here in the Banda region.
Now, and as the young man also pleaded guilty, what did he say was the reason for snatching the ballot box?
He was unable to tell the court. At a point, he said he did not know what came over him to do what he did. But he pleaded guilty, and then the court had to decide on the sentence. He has been sentenced to 3 months imprisonment, and then he's also asked to pay a fine of 300 penalty units. And in default, he will have to serve an extra 6 months in addition to the 3 months that has been given him. He's also not going to vote in any elections that is going to be conducted by the Electoral Commission for the next 5 years. That is the verdict of the court earlier.
Did his political party affiliation come up at all?
Not really. That is what we are unable to establish, whether he did so for Party A or Party B. But what we know for now is that he might be of interest for either of the political parties. We are not able to establish which of the parties he belongs. But all we can say for now is that the seal of the NPP or the New Patriotic Party was broken before the box was retrieved.
All right, thank you very much, Anas Sabit, bringing us that update there. But still ahead, we're taking a break here on Joynews. But still ahead, President Akufo-Addo is urging all Ghanaians to play their part to ensure the country is held together.
It is important that all of us remember that each one of us has the responsibility for the peace of our nation. It is not just government, it is each single citizen of our nation has that responsibility. And I'm confident that the good...
And then the Electoral Commission has denied reports that chairperson of the commission has left the country after declaring the results of the presidential election. They issued a statement and we'll be sharing that statement with you. Up next, we're bringing you business.